Dear friends, welcome to the Summary Club, the channel of fast training and self-development. Our story today is about the mystical and wise direction of Islam, Sufism, in which we will consider its main ideas and essence, principles and philosophy of the Sufis, respectively people practicing and professing this religious. The word Sufism is translated as wool, a name given to the mystics of the movement who wore clothing made of wool as a symbol of self-knowledge and self-denial. In principle, anyone can become a Sufi, regardless of faith, cultural affiliation, or position in society. There are other translations of the word, but more about that later. Historians attribute the emergence of Sufism to the 7th, 8th centuries, when a separate direction in Islam based on asceticism and mysticism emerged. Gradually, various Sufi schools developed and the popularity of this trend grew as a way of life based on self-knowledge and cognition of the absolute, when one comprehends oneself in its entirety. The essence and purpose of Sufism. The religious teachings of Sufism aim at the purification of the soul and self-knowledge, both through the practice of asceticism and through the practice of prayer, ritual, and belief in one Allah. The example of the Sufis was the Prophet Muhammad, who led an ascetic life and was not interested in worldly affairs, spent most of his time in prayer and fasting. The essence of Sufism is unity with all existence, which cannot be approached intellectually. It is necessary to fall in love with existence. And there is no system here, only love and trust in deep existence. There is a story about Sufis, or as they are called a Sufi parable, when a disciple came to a master and said he wanted to know the truth. Then the master said, "All right, let's go get some water, but don't ask any questions." And so they came to the well, and the master began to lower a bucket into the well that had no bottom. He lowered a bottomless bucket into the well and lifted it up. Finally, the student couldn't stand it anymore and asked, "What are you doing? The bucket has no bottom." The teacher chased him away because he had broken a rule. You don't need intelligence to understand wisdom. Early Sufism was based on imitating the Prophet Muhammad and following his rules and injunctions. In the same way, Sufis meditated on the essence of the Quran and spent their lives in prayer and fasting, renouncing the mundane. Also, one of the main ideas of early Sufism was to purify one's soul through the practice of poverty and penance. Thus, Sufis wanted to get closer to God by showing selfless love and service in prayer and fasting, which is also characteristic of early Christianity and of virtually all the Christian saints and ascetics of Christianity and virtually every other religion in the world. This is how the theory and practice of merging, or dissolving oneself into God, took shape in the philosophy of Sufism as well. Principles of Sufism. The basic principles of Sufism are the creation of the perfect man, free from his passions, his ego or self, and the attainment of divine truth or fusion with God. This also resembles, almost word for word, Buddhism, the philosophy of which we have already written about. Thus, the principles of Sufi practice are the improvement of man's spiritual world and liberation from material dependence, as well as selfless service to God. They also rely on the teachings of the Quran and the ideas of the Prophet Muhammad in their principles of practice. The philosophy of Sufism in brief. Let's talk about the word Sufism. It turns out that the word from Persian translates as Sufi is Sufi, which means there is no distinction between self and whole, or between self and the rest of the world. The Sufi can exist anywhere, and he is truly religious because he strives for the forbidden, and the closer one gets to God, the more he dissolves and disappears. And when a man is gone, he becomes everything. Sufism is transmitted from heart to heart, like magic. And for a Sufi, God is not a person, for him he is everywhere, like a name or the idea of a holistic existence. Sometimes the word Sufa is translated as purity of mind, that there is nothing else in the mind, or there is nothing there to look for. There are no thoughts, no reflections, and no mind, which will only be fully understood by Zen practitioners. You do not seek God, but he seeks you. The great sages, the Sufis, say that one cannot seek God as long as one thinks one chooses him. The initiative belongs to God. He is always the first to ask, "Where are you?" God chooses first, then you seek him. After all, man is so small and does not know how to seek God. And what it is to seek God at all, man does not know either. And that is the great blessing in it, when someone searches for God and finds Him.
Subscribe to the Summary Club and watch short versions of the most popular and useful videos every day.
Sufi Philosophy. Sufis say that, in order to live in the present, one should not think about the future or the past. The Sufi lives from moment to moment and has no anxiety or plans for the next moment. The Sufi lives in the present. To live in the present moment means that there is nowhere else to go, not to the past, not to the future, not anywhere at all. In this present moment there is a stopping for the past and the future. You died to ordinary life and were born to God, who always came to you, but you were not at home. And to be in now for a Sufi is to be at home, and finally God has caught you in the act. What an exciting encounter. Neither he nor you know who is who anymore. After all, a person usually has a past or a future, but no present. A person who lives in the past is simply stuck, and he is not in the present. The past is an illusion, just as dreams of the future are a fiction or illusion. It is only in the present moment that the edifice of illusion collapses. The illusion of the mind, the suffering and reborn mind, collapses. Spiritual growth is truly possible only when you are in the present moment, which is life itself. If you are not, you are asleep or even dead, because you have no awareness of yourself as a whole with all of life and everything around you. Why is there no joy in ordinary people? According to Sufi philosophy and teachings, ordinary life seems monotonous and boring. As for most, it is a pursuit of one thing and another, so there is so little joy in life. And because people have experiences of the vulgar, they are no longer surprised and bored. Here Sufism says, take off the burden of the past and the future. Why think about what is already gone, or what is not yet there? Why not live in the present moment, where there is the joy of self-discovery and knowing God within? In that moment you die as a man and are born as God. Why do people fear death? Because when you die, you disappear, you are swallowed up by nothingness, a great light or a great emptiness. The Sufi is full, the common man is not. Man constantly demands attention for himself, the husband from his wife, the wife from her husband, politicians and artists. They all want external attention because they are empty inside and need something to fill the hole. And the Sufi is full of being. He is not separated from existence, his ego is absent, and he himself is absent. And when one is absent, God is already present in him. This is enlightenment in Sufi terms. Do you live in the present? To see what a person is like and to determine if you are living in the present, Sufism says to simply look at the second hand on the face of one's watch. Even for 1 minute a person cannot simply look at the hands of the clock. How many times have thoughts of the past or the future taken us away from the present moment? This indicates that the man sleeps and dreams, then about the past, then about the future. He has long been dead to God. He is just a corpse, as he never lives in the present, and therefore he does not exist. History's most famous Sufis. It is believed that Christ, Buddha, Lao Tzu, Kabir, Osho, and Sri Ramana were all Sufis, and the most famous real Sufi is of course the great enlightened writer Omar Khayyam, about whom we will talk separately, and many other saints of the past. Awakening is about living life as it is in being in the present moment. It is about merging with life and with God. Conclusion. In every person, regardless of his religion or creed, there can be a Sufi, provided he wishes to wake up in this life. After all, God comes to man every day, and man is not at home at that time. Because he is constantly busy with the past and the future. And to live in the present moment is to be at home. Sufism is neither faith nor religion, it is a field of knowledge where everyone knows, or at least knows himself, simply by being a witness, where the knower and the known are one existence. That is, God, which is, in principle, the ideal of most religions and true beliefs. Well, at this point I have to finish talking about philosophy and the essence of Sufism. See you at the Summary Club, where we will continue to consider different religious and philosophical systems of the world. And friend, don't forget to subscribe to the Summary Club for becoming more successful, educated, kinder and wiser every day. Save hundreds of hours and dollars spending on boring regular education. Feel free to write your opinions and questions about each video. We read all the comments. In addition, go to our official website, where you can find reading materials or watch other videos on channel and links in the description. All the best.